I thought I would talk a little bit today, if I can find it, about the specific vows or unshakable resolves that Buddha Amitabha made. That resulted in the establishment of his Pure Land of Sukhavati. Okay, so they're the 18th, 19th, and 20th of the unshakable resolves he made. Well, actually, at this point, he was still the monk Dhammakara, okay, before he became Amitabha. So the 18th one says, when I become a Buddha, if the beings of the 10 directions, who after having heard my name and thus awaken their highest faith and aspiration of rebirth in my land, even if they have recollected such a thought for 10 times only, they will surely be born there, with the exception of those who have committed the 5 heinous actions and those who have slandered the true Dharma. Okay, otherwise may I not attain awakening. Okay, so here he's, setting up, saying that he's going to establish the Pure Land, and saying that, except for people who have committed the 5 heinous actions, killing one's father, one's mother, an arhat, causing blood to flow from a Buddha, and causing schism in the Sangha. Yeah, and actually, we look at those usually and say, oh, nobody would do those. But now with assisted suicide, we have to be more careful in thinking about, contributing to the death of somebody. Yeah, so it's pretty dicey now with modern medicine, this thing of when to pull the plug, how to treat somebody at the last stages. And so that's why it's really important to have written directives about what you want so that your relatives aren't left making that decision. And as for me, I don't want to be in charge of making that decision, even if somebody else already set out their directive. Okay, but we have to think carefully about that now because the laws are changing, the mentality of people are changing. Okay, so those are 5, actions that create very negative karma. And it says if you do them, you go directly to the hell realms, without any intervening thing. And then the other one is the people who have slandered the true Dharma. In other words, the people who disparage the Dharma, who criticize the Dharma, who say, this isn't true, it's a bunch of BS, the Buddha made up all this stuff, it's all fairy tales and da-da-da-da-da. Okay? So this one also we need to be careful with because, there's some movements nowadays of, we're going to modernize Buddhism. And, the Buddha didn't teach rebirth, so we're agnostic about that. And then, you kind of just kind of shift a few things and create a kind of feel-good Buddhism that you think will suit your own generation, as well as your own popularity very well. So we need to be careful about this. And as I say, not throw the Buddha out with the bathwater. It takes a long time to actually understand the teachings. And just because we don't understand something, we can't say it's not true, or the Buddha didn't say it, or we shouldn't follow this. First, we have to understand it. Yeah, and so that takes many years, if not lifetimes. So we need to be careful. So, of course, we can differentiate the Dharma from culture, but even that, again, we have to be careful. Yeah, what is really the Dharma? What is culture? And I know for me, having trained in the Tibetan tradition in India for 9 years, gotten very used to how Dharma was presented there, where they don't make any difference between Dharma and culture, because they were never invaded by Western powers. They never had to make, they never were really confronted until recently with other civilizations, with very different worldviews. But having trained there for 9 years and then gone to Taiwan to take Bhikshuni vows, where everything externally is very, very different, then I had to really ask myself, what is culture and what is the Dharma? Because when you look superficially, you find many, many differences in things. When you look more deeply into the Dharma, you may find different interpretations of the philosophy, but you find certain core things that are really there, across the board in all the traditions. And they're not superficial things, okay? So, we need to take the time and really think about that, And similarly, I'm getting off on a tangent here, but I think it's okay. How are we going to attract people to the Dharma? To what extent will we correspond with modern culture in order to attract new people to the Dharma? So I remember once hearing one Dharma center talk about having a rave so that all the young people would come. And I was kind of horrified, because that just didn't suit my, yes, we want to make it so that young people can understand it, but we should do that without really going to the extreme and also giving wrong impressions and wrong understandings, okay? And I know in Singapore, this is a really big thing because the Christian groups have lots of young people, and they attract them basically through having social activities. So you have tons of social activities. You come with your friends, you pray a little bit, and then you dance and you sing and you do what young people do. Okay, you flirt, and but that's all. That's why they come. Okay, But to what extent are we going to do that in the U.S. and what is the difference between a monastery and a Dharma center in that regard? Because a Dharma center may do more of that because it's Dharma centers are geared towards lay people. But as a monastery, how much do we want to do that? Because we're trying to create a special kind of environment here, that you can't find elsewhere. And I think some of the young people are interested in that kind of environment, too. At a certain point, I know, in the olden days when I was a young person, at a certain point, I got tired of it all too. Okay, so back to Amitabha and his Pure Land. So with the exception of those two people, having heard the name of Amitabha, and it makes you think, what does it really mean to hear the name of Amitabha? Does it just mean literally that you hear Amitabha? I wonder. I think it's something to really kind of contemplate. Okay, so somebody who's having heard the name of Amitabha and awakened the highest faith and aspiration of rebirth in my land. Okay, so, to have that kind of faith and aspiration, one of the principal things we need is the renunciation of the dukkha of samsara, the aspiration to attain liberation, which we talked about last time, and also the bodhicitta. Yeah. So we need to have those two, I think, to really have a proper aspiration, because rebirth in Amitabha's Pure Land is going to take us to full awakening. So we need to have somewhere in our mind that aspiration for full awakening. Otherwise, being born there doesn't make much sense. Okay. Before I talk a little bit about generating bodhicitta, which I think would be a good reminder now that you're doing retreat, you have the time to reflect on the bodhicitta meditations. Something that's very important both for generating the aspiration for liberation as well as for generating bodhicitta is to overcome the 8 worldly concerns, because those are the big things that trip us up and will prevent, both the aspiration for liberation and the aspiration for full awakening. And the 8 worldly concerns, unfortunately, are very deeply rooted in our mind, and they run our lives most of the time. And often we're not even aware of how much they run our lives. So they are in 8 pairs. The first one is being totally delighted and attached to receiving money and property and gifts and so on, and being depressed when we don't have it, or it's taken away or it's ripped off. The second pair is being attached to praise and approval, and then, getting down when we receive criticism and disapproval. Third pair is being attached to having a good reputation and fame, and aversion to having a bad reputation. And then the last pair is attachment or delight to good sensual sensations of our 5 senses, and, not liking unpleasant ones. Okay. So if we look, these kind of have a stronghold. Is that the right word, stronghold? Yeah, on our lives. So the first one, material possessions and money. So we all like to think, well, I'm not really attached to those things. But, I want those kind of dishes and pots and pans for the kitchen, and I want a bed that looks like this, and I want the hall to look like this, and, we need a certain amount of money, and we want to get a car. In fact, 1 car isn't sufficient, nor is 2 cars, nor is 3 cars. We have to have a whole fleet of cars. And my robes, I don't want to wear somebody else's hand-down robes. I want new robes. They're bright and shiny, where all 3 pieces match. They aren't different colors. And for the winter, I want a really warm jacket, and I want a nice sweater, and I want snow boots, okay? And, we go on and on with things that we want, okay? And that's even monastics. If you're a householder, and especially if you have kids in this society, you want a lot of stuff, not only because of those things make your life more convenient and happier, but because they have a lot of symbols. Money and possessions symbolize success. They symbolize love when you give them to people. You love somebody, so you give them money, you give them gifts. Okay, and you receive money and gifts from them. They symbolize freedom. If you have your own money, you can do what you want. They symbolize power. If you have money and possessions, yeah, you have more power in society. They symbolize social status. People look up to you if you have money and possessions. They value your word more. Okay? So it's not just the money and possessions, it's all these other things that they symbolize. Yeah? And so we think we're kind of renounced. Okay? So it's something to really pay attention to, the mind that, we, and we think of it as well, we just, like pots and pans, who's attached to pots and pans. But we want the nice pots and pans. Yeah, we don't want the old ones. Okay, yeah. And we want a rice cooker that works, in a certain way. Yeah. And boy, I want one that cooks, what do you call it, quinoa, because people here don't know how to cook quinoa properly. It turns out like mush, and it should be flaky, like fluffy. So we need a quinoa, thing. You can't use a rice one for quinoa. So, so we always need more. We always need better. Okay. Then the one, approval and praise. This one's even more dicey. Yeah? We want to hear nice, sweet, ego-pleasing words, don't we? Yeah? We don't want to hear anything, that points out a weakness, that points out a mistake, that points out a fault. We don't want to hear any of it, okay? We want people to say, you are wonderful, you are talented, you are good looking, you are intelligent, you are the best one here. And that's what we want to hear, isn't it? Even Dharma practitioners. Oh, you're the best disciple. You're the most organized disciple. You're the most whatever, Yeah. And then we feel like, okay, I'm worthwhile, I got some praise, I got some approval. So, we want it in the monastery, we want it from our family and friends. You don't want your family to look at you and say, what in the world are you doing, you idiot? You want your family to praise you and say, how wonderful you are, and, so on and so forth. Okay? So, you go to work at a job. You want your boss to praise you. You want your colleagues to praise you. Yeah? You want everybody, the whole world actually should praise us. Yeah? Because we are so wonderful. And, the world is so privileged to have us in it. Our family, is privileged to have us. This monastery is privileged that I chose to ordain here. I could have chosen to ordain somewhere else. Yeah. So you're so lucky to have me. We just, this thing of wanting praise is, it's very deeply rooted. And we cannot stand criticism. Absolutely not. What do we do when we get criticized? We freak out. Yeah, we get angry. And we tell the other person, don't tell me I did this. Look at your own actions. You do that. Or we say, it's not fair. You're criticizing me for not doing that, but so-and-so also doesn't do it. So don't criticize me, criticize them. Yeah? Or we get defensive. Oh, well, I did that because of this and this and this, and that and that and this and so on, and a whole long story. Yeah? Yeah. We never say, thank you for pointing out my mistake. God forbid. Buddha forbid. Now, Buddha wouldn't forbid that. Only God would. Yeah, Buddha would encourage us to admit it. Yeah. But, oh boy, some, criticism, insult, ridicule, somebody makes fun of us, we go ballistic, And so we either get mad and attack back, or we stuff it and we hold on to it and we become resentful. And we add it to our unerasable list of injustices that people have done towards us. And we save that list so the next time we have a fight with the person over some small thing, we can pull out our list of everything else they've criticized us for unjustly and attack them back. So we don't always get angry, over one insult. We stockpile them, yeah? And when then you have a big blowout, then you take them all out, okay? Or we go sulk. Yeah, you criticize me. That's the way we are. Or another version of sulking is, you criticize me? The world's so unfair. Nobody treats me properly. They always blame me for things I didn't do. Yeah? We cannot bear criticism and disapproval. Even somebody asking us a question about what we're doing, we interpret as disapproval. They're just asking a question. We take it as they're challenging my autonomy, they're challenging my intelligence, they think I'm an idiot. All they're doing is asking a question. Yeah. But again, we get defensive. Our honor, is being attacked, who we are, And the big I, that inherently existent I, can't even fit in this room at that time, it gets so big and we can't see anything else but me, And then we further degenerate and we interpret everything everybody does in terms of me. Yeah, and I can't stand it anymore. And I'm getting out of here. I'm running down the hill. You run down the hill and you get to Spring Valley Road. And then what are you going to do? You're at Spring Valley Road. Okay. But so these are just the first two of the 8 worldly concerns. The first 4, actually, the first 2 pairs. But, look how much they control our life. Yeah? So this is something really, while you're in retreat, take some time and look at it, And we, this is not just a problem of lay people. It's a problem of monastics, too. We want to look good. Yeah. When we write an article for something, we don't want it to come back all in red ink. Yeah. We want to be known as a monastic who does this and has a good reputation, So just, we need to really think about things and apply the antidotes, not just to notice these things in ourselves, but apply the antidotes. So, some of the antidotes that work real well are just thinking about death and impermanence. What are you going to take with you at death? Yeah, any of these things going to come with you at death? If they aren't, why do you care so much about them now? You know, think about the defects of samsara. Even if I get, well, here we're just talking about money, possessions, and praise and approval. Even I get them, am I going to be forever happy? Especially with the praise and approval one. Yeah, and the dislike for criticism. Does criticism really destroy me? What does it do to me? It's just sounds. Why does criticism have such strong power over me? Why does praise have such strong power over me too? It's just sounds. It's just other people's opinions of me. Yeah? Am I so unaware of myself that I rely on other people to tell me who I am and to tell me my own worth as a human being? Yeah? Because relying on other people to know that is, boy, that's going to make us up and down and up and down. And it's going to make us hypocrites because we're going to do song and dance shows to impress people. Okay? So really think, what good do these attachments do? And what good does all the aversion do? Yeah? And what kind of karma do I create? What kind of actions do I do motivated by these two sets of attachments and aversions? Yeah? What am I really taking with me to my next life? Okay, so spend some time thinking about that. Because this will influence the karma we create, and it will influence what thought we have at the time of death. And both of those will influence our future rebirth. Yeah. Especially for Dharma practitioners. We have the idea of the perfect death, and we're practitioners, so we should display that perfect death, sitting up in perfect meditation's position, totally serene. Go out that way. Then they'll write you up in all the new Buddhist thing. Oh, so-and-so died, meditating on the three kayas, their mind involved in bliss and emptiness. We never knew they were such a great high practitioner when they were alive, but now we know it, Yeah, wouldn't that be nice in our obituary? So we have to, really, we're dying, and we have to, really look good when we're dying. Huh? We don't want to die, what happens if we die and we're freaking out? What's going to happen to my reputation? All these people thought I was a Dharma practitioner, and here I am freaking out on my deathbed, terrified to leave this body, terrified to leave my identity, afraid of what's coming next. I don't like uncertainty. I don't like unpredictability. I don't have the schedule for my next rebirth and everything that's going to happen in it. The whole thing's wide open and I'm unnerved. So I'm freaking out. What's going to happen to my reputation? Oh, yeah. Okay, I better get it together and look good. Yeah, but you can't because you're dying and you're freaking out. That's the time when you cannot hide it. You can't fake it. Okay. I think we have our work cut out for us, huh?